It's little known fact that Dave Matthews actually wrote a song about a laptop they loved very much. Well, that's not true, but it's a nice thought nevertheless. What we have here is a Toshiba Satellite circa 1996. This is a Satellite 110 CT. I had to think about that for a second, because it used to be a 105 CS. Let me explain. So if you've seen my video on the Satellite 105 CS, you would have known that there was a crack in the hinge right about here. And otherwise, it was in excellent condition. It ran fine. It had a semi-functioning battery. And I've actually left it at work. It's been in a display case for, I don't know, 2 years. Well, just today, I went into the local landfill, or town dump, as it may be, and I found this. This is a kind of a big brother to the 105 CS. The 105 CT, the 105 CS featured a Pentium 75, which was the first generation Pentium processor, as all predecessors contained 486s. Actually, no, I believe there was a Pentium 60 or 66. But, well, we'll just pretend those didn't exist. It was one of the first Pentium laptops, let's put it that way. It also featured a very small, I believe it was a 10.4-inch passive matrix LCD display, capable of displaying a resolution of 640 by 480. And it had a 500-ish meg hard drive with 8 megs of onboard RAM. So I found this. This is a Satellite 110 CT that someone had abandoned. It was missing the battery and hard drive. It was missing the power supply, but because this model features an onboard power supply, it just uses a simple 120 volt, grab it, there we go, radio type plug. You can just grab those anywhere and plug them right in. Actually, it was one of the selling points of this laptop because it didn't require a heavy brick to carry with you everywhere you went. All this blabbering has left me quite parched, which is why I'm choosing my local favorite, Moxie. The stuff is really good. And no, I'm not getting paid to say that. But it's an acquired taste that is only available regionally. Tastes kind of like root beer, but only earthier. Yeah, I can only describe it that way. A little bit more spice to it. Like good cancer. Yum. So, where were we? Ah, yes. I found the 110 CT. I brought it to work as I was doing work-related things. And I powered it up. It posted, but it would go no further than a flashing cursor. So I'm like, oh, gee, there's a problem here. So I grabbed the 105 CS, pulled the battery, pulled the hard drive, and popped it into the 110. Well, things improved instantly. The laptop not only booted, but that's pretty much all it did. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, I booted up into Windows 95 because that is what I had on the 105. With me so far. The 105 had the original Toshiba system build on it, which is a hard thing to find in this day and age. Refreshing. Oh yeah. That's the stuff. Drink Moxie. Yeah. So, once I determined that the 110 CT was operational, I quickly learned that it wasn't fully operational. The onboard tracking device, the mouse, if you will, didn't work. It didn't function at all. As a matter of fact, Windows was reporting no pointing device installed. That's a problem. I shut it down, I plugged in an external mouse, and guess what? No luck. no dice, if you will. The laptop still reported no pointing. But I remained determined. I was going to solve this problem once and for all. I compared the 105 and the 110 side by side and discovered that they actually share the same housing. Yes, we're getting somewhere. They share the exact same housing, the same keyboard, the same port locations. By the way, these are potatoes from the Little Potato Company. These are great for roasting. I just thought I'd tell you. Okay. Anyway, so I disassembled the 105 completely. I wanted to see what parts were good and what was bad. Because, nevertheless, what I didn't tell you is that I discovered that the motherboard in the 110 is bad. It has some fault somewhere that I don't feel like diagnosing. It wasn't a driver issue. I already explored that. It was a motherboard fault. So, yeah. Alright, so I took the 105, ripped it apart, and discovered that it had some bad plastics. It had a bad screen housing. There was a crack. Like every freaking Toshiba Satellite I've ever seen had a crack right there in the hinge. They all do it. Every single one. I don't care what your grandmother told you. They all crack right there. Right there. Yeah. And they also actually are known to crack somewhere in the vicinity of the front corner. The corners tend to shatter on them like glass. I always find them with cracking corners. They also lose the machined threaded brass inserts that all the support screws are screwed into. They tend to break off. And I discovered that my 105 also had a couple of those too. So things weren't looking pretty. I then took the 110 CT apart, and as you can imagine, everything was absolutely perfect sunshine and bees buzzing around. There wasn't a thing wrong with the laptop physically, just a bad motherboard. And then things got even more interestinger. I discovered that the video card is separate. It has a discrete video card. So I found the discrete video card actually fit the 105 motherboard. Yes, I'm serious. Anyway. Okay, so we're at Satellite, Moxie, Bananas, whatever. Where were we? Okay, so I discovered that the motherboard in the 105 and the 110 are nearly identical, with one exception. The processor is different. But it's not socketed. It was actually a surface mount chip. And there was no way I was going to desolder that chip and transplant it. Sadly, that just wasn't, within the realm of possible. So, and besides, if I swap the processor, I'd also have to determine how the clock speed is determined through resistors or EEPROM programming. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to mess with that. Screw that. I'm just going to swap the boards over, and I did. So, the Reader's Digest version, TLDR, if you will. What we have here is a Franken-Satellite, or a Sattelstein. No, franken-lite. Frick it. It is basically a 105 motherboard in a 110 chassis. To really break it down, we have swapped out just the main board, and we've kept the 110's unique discrete graphics card and the, get this, 12-inch active matrix LCD screen. Bitchin'. This is the nicest screen you could have gotten on one of these. But it was neutered in the form of a Pentium 75 processor. So we lose 25 megahertz on the CPU speed. Big friggin' deal. It's running Windows 95, it can handle it. I'm going to plug in the power here. The first thing you're going to notice is there's no battery. And you're only going to notice that because I just told you. Yeah. So I'm going to plug this in here. Power comes on. I took the battery out because it was actually causing the machine not to power on. Occasionally, when a battery gets to a point where it's practically shorted internally, it it turns into a giant paperweight that prevents your laptop from turning on. Yeah, it can happen. It'll only allow the laptop to run for maybe a few seconds, and then it just shuts down, and my power light indicator begins to blink orange. Which leads me to one quick sidestep. Not that. That. I swear there's no alcohol in this. It's just soda. I'm getting juiced on the caffeine. So, the defect is the internal power supply has a tendency to malfunction. There is a... I remember reading about this on a forum way back in the late 90s, when these were still relatively new. And as far back as the late 90s, and as early as far back and as recent as the early 2000s. And the problem is, there's a component that would fail on the internal power supply that would prevent it from running off the power cord. What would happen is you would get the flashing orange or amber indicator, and it wouldn't power up, but it would run from a charged battery. So if you had a separate laptop that you could charge the battery in, or as some people were doing, they were running the, there was an optional external charger you could use, and you could charge it and then put it in. Of course, this was back when those batteries were still decent enough to where you could still have a functioning machine. And I believe it was reverse engineered by one of the posters who found that it was, I believe, a diode that had failed in the power supply. But it was so long ago that I don't remember what it was all about. So, anyway, without further ado, we're going to now power up the Satellite 225. No, wait. 215. 215, because I've added the 110 and the 105. The Satellite 215. Here we go. All right. What irked me at first is the in touch with yourself, or touch yourself, or in touch with tomorrow Toshiba logo that comes up isn't coming up. I didn't notice that being an issue on my old on the old 105. Here it is, booting up from the factory install of the 105 CS. Look at that. Boots right up. No questions asked. Yes, sir. No, sir. That's all I get out of it. Maybe we'll put this on the internet. Who would like to see that? That could be fun. I have a Zircom somewhere. Actually, I've got a few network adapters I could try on this. So I have to go look at what I have. But as you can see, the mouse pointer now works. This is the original keyboard to the 110. It's got Microsoft Bob, Microsoft Money, Microsoft Sports, Works 4.0, PaintShop Pro, PKWare, Unzip. And I believe I installed a few games on here. Let's see what I did. No, I did not. It has all the Toshiba utilities on it. Let's see if the user's guide covers the 110. No, it only covers the 100/105 series. Oh well. I'm thinking about putting Windows 3.1 on this just for fun. No other reason than that. Just to do it because I can. It's something that I've often considered doing. By the way, the display that's in here now supports a resolution of 800 by 600, which is a vast improvement over what I had. This is the upgrade accessory catalog that Toshiba offers. It's on board. I believe this machine will do up to 40 megs of RAM if you use the 32 megabyte upgrade card. 32, 34, 36. No, I'm pretty sure it could do 40. Could be wrong. But I didn't put any games on here yet. Let's see. I have all these disk image files, which is nice. But yeah, click and play, I put that on, but that was many years ago. So the ultimate goal here wasn't to get another laptop, it was to take two satellites and make one that had absolutely no case damage of any kind. And I succeeded. Because the Satellite series is so fragile, it is nearly impossible to find one that has zero case damage. I wouldn't go right out and say that they were poorly built, but I will say that they were built using laptop construction methods that originated in the 90s, early 90s, and everyone was doing it except IBM. And the end result was a relatively affordable laptop, that lasted a good 2 or 3 years before it started falling apart. Some notable examples of case damage caused by normal use on these laptops. Of course, aside from the Satellite series, the Compact Contour series, all of them. The 486 and 386 Compact LTE line. The Macintosh PowerBook 100 series. That's the 140 and up. The 190, and a couple of other lesser known brands. And they were all of these laptops were famous for one major flaw, at least. The screen hinge mount points would break free from the screen housing, and it would cause the housing to crack, and eventually your screen would be held up by magic or duct tape. They would also break where the two case halves meet, where the brass threaded inserts are molded to the case. Copper and plastic don't expand at the same rate, and the plastic was usually very thin where that copper or brass bushing was located, and those would shear off. If you drop the laptop even once, you would have actual damage. Many early laptops, except the IBM ThinkPads, Panasonic Toughbooks, I've actually seen some pretty well-worn NECs that didn't even have this problem. But yes, that when you buy an old laptop like this, it's something that you just kind of have to look for. And that's why I will never buy one on eBay for more than $50 or so. Because I'm practically throwing the money away until it comes in and I can verify it isn't broken, because I know where to look. But this is coming from experience as a device repair technician. I've been doing this kind of work at least since 2001 professionally, and between 1996 and 2001, as an amateur. I've taken a lot of stuff apart. I've cannibalized a lot of laptops. And I'm telling you right now that the Satellite series was one of the laptops that I almost refused to work on, because every time I found one, they were broken or damaged, and it wasn't cost effective to repair it even then. So there you go. It's actually kind of sad, because I had a mint 486 Satellite that had all of the original paperwork, manuals, and accessory catalogs, and all the accessories. I think I had a battery charger. I had everything for it, and it was in mint condition, except for the case or the display housing was suffering from several cracks. One of them being here, and there was one internal that you couldn't see. It was kind of sad. I had to sell it because I was too upset with it. I couldn't get it fixed. I couldn't find the parts to fix it. But anyway. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more stuff. There will be more coming. Actually, there is more coming. I'll tell you right now. I have just acquired an X01, an OLPC X01. I've been wanting one of these for years, and I finally worked out a deal where I got one for basically the cost of shipping and some junk, well, not really junk, but pocket PCs that I didn't really want or use anymore. So I can't wait to get it. It's coming soon, though.